Okay, let's get this working. See if this is actually set up properly now, because yep, it is. Screwed around with it yesterday. Morning, Mojo. Okay, so not going to go into it too much. Obviously, announcement yesterday on the channel. Developers.stream is just taking a pause while I focus 100% on Liquid Sky. So that's said at the beginning of the video. That's why this isn't Developers.stream. It's Liquid Sky. It goes well. How about yourself? So I'm tired. More tired than I thought I was. On Wednesday, I was focusing on putting some requirements against subscribing to the status on a planning item. And I was plotting out like what I should see, like talking about how this is kind of epic level, right? It's not really story level, right? Because the feature doesn't come together until you can do all the things. Which is fine. For planning items, to me, that is a perfectly fine and acceptable way, because oftentimes we try and constrain stories or mold stories into what kind of fits in a story that isn't too big, isn't too small. And if you go with a too big story, you end up with too much tasking, or not enough tasking, as often is the case. So I think this is perfectly fine. The planning item that is to subscribe, and the action of subscribing is going to contain both the UI, it's the things that people see. Stony, good morning or good afternoon for you. I hope you are well today. I hope you are rested after that monster stream yesterday. I put way too much cream in my coffee this morning. It is, but I just woke up. Nice. Nice. I suppose you can watch a lot more US-based streams if your hours are like that. I've done my fair share. No, I used to stream when I first started streaming. For the first couple of years, I would stream in the evenings, and I'd probably do 4 or 5 hours in my evenings, and I'd do weekend streams, long weekend streams, basically sat here all day streaming. Yeah, it's exhausting. Doing the thing you're doing is one part of it, but then actually knowing that you're being watched and trying to interact at the right times, and yeah, it's tiring. I get it. Before we get kicked off on that, though, I'm going to kind of I know that you got it in the end. I don't know if you've solved the problem 100%, but I wanted to just kind of explain what I was going on about yesterday, if I can find an actual. Here you go. So this is actually a good one because it's associated with a collection. So associated projects is a collection, especially when reading is hard, so keeping up with chat is almost impossible. Yeah, nice. You found the problem. Nice. What was the solution? that's normally my problem too. Team associated projects, team. Is this one of the ones that I actually don't have a mapping on? It is, isn't it? It's one where it infers it. It's because it's got primary key. Of course, I picked that one out. The one that doesn't have the configuration. Non-nullable column will cause a foreign key constraint because TVID does not. Gotcha. There you go. That makes sense. There you go. That's good. Okay. How far did I sit back then? I leant the back of my chair back and just realized as I sat back that I wasn't pushed as far forward as normal. Okay. So today, I had the issue with the FreshDB2. It took me a bit of being cooled down from the stream to get it. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it just takes that step away, right? Let's do that. Lower. There we go. Okay. So, as I was saying, the planning item is representing what it's still broken down into a small enough chunk, right? I'm not saying that this should represent every single thing that can be tracked as a change. What I'm saying is this is the foundation of that concept. It's hey, I want to be able to track the status. If they wanted to track the initiative that was attached to it, that would be a different planning item, right? So the ability to subscribe to a different item would be there. I've seen stories in the past, something like, I want to be able to subscribe to every possible field, right? And then you end up with an argument of, okay, well, what does that mean? Can you constrain? Can you confine that, etc.? And I think that's the problem with planning in general is we either go too big or too granular, too technical, not enough technical, right? We're trying to find that balance. So I'm hoping that with the planning items concept, that the idea is that you can build them as big or as small as you want, because what ultimately matters is your alignment to the tasking. So the planning item could contain every single field. Like you could have 50 requirements, but you can still task it out independently. The tasks, yeah, it's going to take a while. This could represent one massive epic if you chose it to, if you chose to do it that way. Or you could have an initiative, which is everything, and try and break these up into actual deliverable chunks, because this is a deliverable chunk, right? If I get this in place, not what if when I get this in place, this can be delivered. There's nothing saying we can't deliver the ability to track changes. We can still add on the other planning items for the other fields. So that's okay. Now, with my change in focus, or slight change in focus, my change to focus 100% on Liquid Sky for the time being, I am going to do something that is probably not wise because of what I'm building, but I'm going to treat this a little bit more waterfall, in such as I'm going to add the requirements and lay things out almost on top of each other. As the next thing comes along, try and plan it out enough that there's enough documentation here, but not necessarily go out and plan too far ahead. I do know the things that I want to get done, and right now, this piece is going to take a considerable amount of effort, I feel. But I don't want to spend great deals of time on stream in the time I do have talking about too much stuff when I can just be doing stuff at the same time. There's got to be a balance here for getting the product move forward. And that's oftentimes what costs, right? Because if you give up on the planning, it's easy to stop planning entirely. If you don't bother to figure out what you need, then you could add things in there that are just on a whim. So I'm not going total waterfall. I'm not going total oh, now I want to do this, now I want to do that. What I'm going to do is, as I come up with something, I'm going to put it in here so it is tracked. I'm going to at least pad out the requirements and task the things out. So I'm at least thinking about those pieces. Yes, I'm almost on top of my own development, but at least I'm going through the effort of trying to track those things and making sure that we are effectively not losing sight of the vision of the application. So right now, what I need to do is I need to build out what this should look like, right? So as a developer, right, actually we need to, can we export that as an image? Yes, we can. Copy to clipboard as PNG. I think copy it in light mode. Paint. Edit. Let's crop. Crop. Save. Status. Changes. Let's see if the upload works today. So I'm going to attach, choose, upload, attachments. And it worked. There you go. So that's what the status changes screen is going to look like. As a product manager, I'd like to be able to subscribe to a planning item status change. An icon appears on the planning item. When I click it, it should be presented with a dialog, and should be able to select the status for which I'm monitoring a change to. When I select status from, so that I can see that doesn't get covered in my diagram, in my image. That's a flaw, right? So I'm not doing from here. I'm just doing select a status. I'm not describing this effectively. An indicator is visible on the planning item that I have a subscription. So we do need to come up with some indicator, and we need to also tackle a few things in here. So I like how I started talking about it, and I had some YouTube viewers, and it just went boop. Do we need pictures? So yeah, so that's that, right? And we're kind of tackling, as a product leader, care about the status, right? So let's talk about how we do this. So without focusing on the UI first, which I think is a challenge, right? Ultimately, what I need to be able to do is allow someone to subscribe to that particular field on that object. Try to check something. To remember that one. Now, it's challenging. However, we do have some notifications components in here, right? So the endpoint for planning item subscribe is here. So we know we're subscribing to a planning item. Do we want to monitor certain fields? And do we want to configure them? And we get into a world here where SQL Server might not be the best way to do this, because it's not. I could. Let me idea. New drawing. I could create subscriptions, and that has entity type, entity identifier. I think I have something like that already. SQL Server, notifications, DBO tables, entity subscriptions has, oh, helps if you bring the rest of your system up, doesn't it? CDD. That'll be up momentarily. So if I had subscriptions and then had a details, parameters, whoops, and that had subscription ID and it had let's do that. Hey Zog, how you doing? Welcome in. And then we have Morning Delta, by the way. And maybe hello. Subscription ID. Oh, about famous. Yeah. Yeah. This is what happens when I try and find, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's infamous. That was more appropriate. Doing good today. Guess what? You're working for Apple. Wow, Dota. Straight with a negative. Nice. That's awesome. Congratulations. That is great news. Yes, I was wrong. That's awesome news. Congratulations. Well, not everything's perfect, but you know, it is what it is. It was a tactical guess. Okay, no. um, well, Line, good morning. Thank you very much for the for giving Stony a shout out. If you haven't followed Stony yet, I would highly recommend it. I think yesterday he was trying to go for a 24-hour stream. Working on his No Mercy Media server, which is something that's of great interest to me, being that I have a collection of over 500 DVDs. I definitely want to rip. Oh, by the way, I collect DVDs. Or I did collect DVDs. I don't really watch movies much anymore, but I would love to have them all on a server one day and be able to watch them. I guess he gets a job. He doesn't. That's worse than if I guess he didn't get the job, but he did. Okay. True. True. That is. I see the logic now. Ah, that is why you're so interested. You're my target audience. Yes, exactly. Yes. I have not stopped my. I do collect Blu-rays every now and then, but I would love to have a ability to watch them all, like my own Netflix. So I am definitely interested in your platform. I'm not sure Mojo realized that tag would follow him around Discord though. Yeah, give off that young, passionate dev vibe that Mojo gives off. I know. That changes the story. Please let me know if there's anything in particular you want to do. No worries. I appreciate it. I'm watching as carefully as I can, and I would love to test it when you actually get to that point. I didn't know it would. I figured you didn't know. Yeah. I'm not a dev anymore. Yes, you are a dev. He just, like a crazy man, chose to take on a management piece. Yeah. Um, I know. Well, the doggos aren't with me right now because my wife's home, so they are firmly with my wife. They are Loki like snuggling up on a blanket. So in the summer, my wife gets to put a blanket on her lap, and Loki cuddles up there, and Taylor sits next to her. So yes, that's fun. Um, but anyway, as announced, Liquid Sky is my focus right this second. I need to go 100% Liquid Sky. As much as I want to do developers.stream, I'm going to drop that for now. I 100% intend to go back to it. I definitely will. If there's any light streams or any streams that I'm lacking ability to do anything on Liquid Sky, I will probably pick up some developers.stream. I will in the background try and get it deployed in its current form and start to refine some of those things, but I'm not going to make streams around it. I want to focus all my effort on Liquid Sky. So that is that. Also, as the announcement was, I am going to try and introduce some redeems to the stream, starting with once I get it set up, the ability to switch the platform on which I'm working. So we're not even going, hey, let's change the theme of the developers environment. I'm going to prove that Rider and .NET work equally as well on Mac and on Linux. But we'll do some voting on the Linux part of it when it comes time. Once I'm ready to get that sorted out, it might not be until later in the summer when it's cooler because I can't run that many machines, right? If I go over 15 amps off this breaker, it will trip. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, but that I will be focusing on soon. Um, a lot of mental energy required to go from thinking, how do you not know this, to saying, hey, we'll fix it in post. Dr. Collins, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome in. I've slowed down, but the team is working faster. Total output is up. That's a positive outcome. Yeah. Wait till you miss a requirement. So anyway, Liquid Sky is going to be my focus on stream for the foreseeable future. I am going to actually try to find a time slot that works. I'm going to start some evening streams up. Sorry, my focus just went. The yeah, I'm going to start some evening streams up in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to start looking at doing that just to help me keep focused on the development as I go. Streaming definitely helps me, even if I'm sat here. Sometimes I've gone into Discord and just started the stream up, started the feed up, just so it keeps me acting as if I am streaming. Because if you think people are watching you, yeah. Don't worry, dude. I'll be working evenings now, so mornings I'll keep the losers entertained in your absence. These losers. Wow. Okay. And while we're on shoutouts and software developers, if you haven't found Maybe yet as well, I highly recommend going and checking out Maybe. And Zerg, sorry, I did not do the shout out for Zerg. I'm sorry, Zerg. Zerg has just started streaming, trying to get into a regular pattern. Good place to go and hang out. He has dragon eggs. and he's trying to do. Um, he has a an AI on stream with him, Lisa, which is interactive, and that's kind of fun. I haven't actually. I've focused more on the dev side of things, so I haven't really there. But yeah, I would highly recommend going checking out. Every streamer that's shouted out, obviously, but there are some really great streamers in here right now that I would yeah, yeah, go check out the good ones, not me. Yeah. And maybe, yeah, he's all right. He does some code stuff and uh trolls a bit. It's fine. Yeah. But no, all seriously great places to go and hang out. Um, uh, I was looking at kind of not following since ages, but just now decided to give him a follow as well. Well, I appreciate the follow. Thank you. And Addy, thank you very much for the follow as well. Um, it's getting to the point where the prompter can't keep up, so I'm having to go to the chat over here. I have missed requirements already. That's my point with them. Get the task done as written. If requirements are missing, then we'll learn from it and write better requirements. Nice. Uh, I'll stop you right there. Um, all good, all good. I'm doing. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Okay, so if you haven't been here before, I am working on Liquid Sky. That is a project management and planning application that I've been building for quite a while. Um, active chat, it does. Active chat in any stream. If you are in a stream and it's quiet, chat. Help the streamer. Talk to them. Interact with them. Show people coming into the stream what it's like interacting with the streamer. It works. Um, the team's currently stuck on figuring out tasking. That's okay. It is. Active chat will definitely engage people. It'll stick people. Yeah. I need Duke as my mod. I need to give regular shout outs, but I'm so focused on what I'm doing while putting it effort. Well, I don't think about it. That's why I'm so thankful for OneLine. OneLine helps me out massively with the shout outs because I'm terrible at them. I get too focused. um, he says too focused, right? As he can't focus. That's funny. So yeah, this is Liquid Sky. Right now I'm planning out the next phase of the application. Let's go to the overview. So the overview of the application looks like this. If you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on the architecture, you're more than welcome to ask questions. What is Liquid Sky? Well, Liquid Sky is actually a movie from the 80s that is apparently quite wacky. Trap Exit has let me know before. Also, if you don't follow Trap Exit, we're doing shout outs. Can I shout out someone? Yeah, I can. Trap Exit is also a streamer. Streams development of libraries and C libraries and C libraries for 3DO, for retro console stuff, and for file system stuff. Like he built a library that's used in some tools. And yeah, so I highly recommend checking out Trap as well. I love my mod, but he's not so engaged in the streaming community as I am, or y'all are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Liquid Sky, Project Liquid Sky is this. It was not named after the movie. I was gonna make maybe TBD mod. He's there most of the time. Doesn't like swearing. Yes, I will clamp down on any stream that has swearing in it. Yes. For those that are aware, yes, they relaxed the rules on certain people in Discord. So just to try and help there a little bit, but generally, yeah. Yes, I give in to peer pressure often. So It's going to be one of them days, isn't it? I'm just not going to. Yeah. Anyway, if you have questions about Liquid Sky, if you have um, uh, even doubts or concerns about how I've designed it, how I've laid things out, I want to talk about those things. I think it's very useful to discuss those things. Right now, what I'm trying to figure out is how this next phase starts to fit in. So the idea will be that you'll be able to say, okay, well, I care about this planning item, however I put the icon in there or whatever I put in here. Rambler Geek, hello, and safe travels and have fun. Noise Mojo, thank you for the luck. So we're going to start simple. We're going to start with just one field. So I've attached a, I'm going to keep deleting it, Anna. Downloading it rather. So I've attached a very simple diagram, right, to try and show I want to be able to select a status, I want to be able to select what status I care about, and I want to be told, I want to say how I want to be notified. So in terms of requirements, there's a few requirements. So see immediate email notification, see summary email notification. So this is where I stopped last time, because we got into a realm of, oh, I have a missing requirement. I have a need to configure my communications preferences before I do this, because what I'm going to say is I want to get a scheduled update of where things lie at that point, any notifications that have happened since a point. So this is where the UI and the need of driving the UI is going to change the design of the backend. So if I was given the task of, hey, go figure out how to tell us when things change, easy, something changed, you were subscribed, let's go, we've got it. But this single requirement changes all that behavior. So focusing on the UI, focusing on the implementation of like how the user is going to interact with it is going to change my focus. So when I receive my I should receive an email at the scheduled time containing items that have changed, what the changes were, who made the changes. Now, as a developer, I'm going to say, well, what if multiple changes were made? Right? Let's imagine that conversation happened. I'm looking at this planning item. I'm looking at this requirement. I say, well, hold on. What if if something changed 2 or 3 times? If multiple changes occurred, I should see them in the sequence in which they occurred. Right? So that's not good UI behavior, or good UX behavior, sorry. So we got I get an email notification, I get a summary email notification, right? Again, these things this could represent an epic in Jira, but these would be stories unto themselves if you're aligning this. So what this does is this gives another requirement though, right? This gives us the need to be able to set communication preferences. Also, as I've been thinking through this, I've been brainstorming a little bit. Is there a need to have multiple subscriptions, or might I want to be notified? I want to be notified about Ads are going to start in 3 minutes. I need to put some better alerts in the screen. Might I want to say, hey, well, if the status changes, I want to be notified in a daily summary email or a summary email, whatever that schedule looks like. But if a if a item is closed or cancelled, I would have been push notified, right? So there is definitely a need to have some level of multi-subscription. But right now, I don't know about that, right? So I'm not going to build that into the design of this piece. I'm going to build the software to tackle the things I've laid out here. And then when we come back to that next phase, then look at doing that. And I'm going to waste a lot of code, potentially, but I don't know what that looks like right this second. So I'd rather get the foundations of this in so that I can adapt that rather than try and engineer for that final solution. So I'm down for a bit of over engineering. Well, let's keep it to a minimum, basically. So let's start and task this out a little bit. Yeah, let's head to the end. Let's not bother with all the middle and the stuff. Let's try and get something. So as a developer now, I'm looking at this and figuring out what I need. Okay. Oh, also, C push notification. This is probably the biggest, one of the bigger pieces. I subscribe. When the status is changed, I should see a notification appear in my inbox. Let's just say that for right a second. That behavior. I don't know how to prevent that, but we'll have to come back around on that later. So we have 4 requirements. Now, this one's a further interesting one, being that it actually involves more UI changes. So is that a separate story? But what does that story have to go off of? This is the reason, this is driving the reason for that story to exist. So as a separate requirement of this, it kind of makes sense. So there's a lot of big pieces here, but they can be broken down into small tasks. And that's kind of where I'm heading with this. I'm basically organizing epics into single pieces that can be looked at. Is the right word holistically? I think it is holistically, but then drilled down into and focused on as they need. So let's get some tasking out and then we'll start looking at some code. I promise there will be an awful lot of code. But unfortunately, what I also want to represent is that you should do some level of planning and preparation before you just dive into the code solution, because it will allow you to avoid more over-engineering than you need to. I'm not saying I'm not going to over-engineer here, but it will allow you to at least think through what you're doing. If you are interested in trying Liquid Sky, you can go to liquidsky.software. I do bring down the box periodically. There's no guarantee it will be up. It is hosted on a machine I have with a Cloudflare tunnel. You are more than welcome to go and sign up and check it out if you want to. The only thing I ask is if you do that, like Melanith did, I would appreciate it if you have any feedback, any thoughts or questions, that you bring them into the Discord. That's my only ask. It's not finished. It's nowhere near ready. But yes, that will help me understand how you are trying to use it. Right now, there's no tutorials either, so your understanding of it can only be gained through watching the stream. But yes, there should be an onboarding process. So anyway, let's start with the subscription itself. So we go over to That's the okay. Pin. That's what I should have done a long time ago. And apologies if you're stuck behind ads, but yes. Okay, this is the idea. That's a different idea. That's the idea. Okay, so in terms of data, I've got to think about how to lay this out now. So I need to capture a planning item and fields that I'm watching. And right now, the field is status, and the parameter, there's a from, potentially, or a to, or nothing. Right? So if I don't select anything, I want to, on any change of the status, right, I want to include status. So maybe my actual solution here is to kind of go back to where is it? Retrospectives, ideas, notifications, ramblings. So maybe there is. Maybe there is that. And then if I select a value, it'll watch for that value. Or maybe I need a kind of before and after, right? So there's like before, after. So if it's changed from A to B, I get told. That seems really janky though. But then you need kind of values or something like that. What would you call that? What's the right word for that? So you can select a property that you want to monitor, and then you can say whether you want to check for specific values. This matters because how I represent it visually is how I want to describe it in the code that I developed, so that it's easier to understand what all this is. So it does matter that I'm going through this process. So I want to be able to select a field. I want to be able to say whether I'm dealing with specific values or I just want changes. So by virtue of this dialogue, right, I'm looking for changes. So it's not like I have to explicitly state, yes, I'm looking for changes. Harish, hello, how you doing? Apex, good morning. Hope you're well. Yes, Obsidian with SkyDraw plugin. Yeah, I kind of collect ramblings and notes and ideas all in here for Liquid Sky. So we have specific values. Let's go with that verbiage for right this second. And if you toggle that on, it will give you the before and after drop downs. You can select a before and no after, or an after and no before, or you can select before and after. So if it changes from A to B, you get it. If it changes to B or from A, you get it, right? How does that feel? Does that feel reasonable? I mean, it works for this particular one because there is known values. I mean, most of the things were with known values. Yeah, let's go back, and what we're going to do is make the PM describe those rules, right? An icon appears on the planning item. When I click it, it should be presented with a dialog and should be able to select the status for which I'm monitoring a change to. Status field. I can toggle specific values. And if anyone has any better naming there for me, that you know, more than welcome to throw that out. But if I could toggle specific values, including the claims principal extensions now works. No need for extra queries. Nice. Nice. So just getting the data all right, all of the fields correct. That's it. Nice. All changes to status should notify if I toggle specific values. I should see 2 extra parameters from 2. Yeah, sometimes you go through that. It's fine. You know, we make a lot of our own problems. We don't always see everything. It's fine. We are human. If I toggle, if I select a value from, now my goal here is to build this out to validate the behavior that I'm talking through, and then it should be a relatively simple case of adding the UI elements in and potentially no, I'm not going to say that, because I think it's wrong. Just even through a quick thing through there, I'm like, I do not know. So not everything is going to have a from to. This allows me to have a from to. This actually opens up the thought of you might want multiple subscriptions. Because if I want to say, oh, I want to know when, I want to be notified via an immediate email when this moves from preparing to ready for planning. Right? Because while it's in preparing, that means it's being worked on, it means it's being changed, but I don't care. Once it goes to ready for planning, I want to be able to review it. So I want an immediate notification. If it changes from ready for planning back to preparing, I might want it in a summary email. Just say, oh, well, it's been pushed back because it's not actually ready, right? Because the developers looked at it, they were like, no, we need more information on this. This can't happen. It moves back to preparing. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. So, but initiative isn't going to change from A to B, right? I'm just going to watch for an initiative changing. So not every field is going to have a from to. So let's not overthink that idea. If it's out to value from, but no value to, I should see a notification if the status changes from the specific value. If I select a value to and no value from, I should see a notification the status changes to the specific value. So I'm being very explicit about these requirements. These are rules. These are business rules. right? Yeah, they're on a single field on a change, whatever, but these matter. So the expectation is 100% the same. There's no interpretation of that information, right? That is what I want to get rid of. I want to get rid of the question. And later on, when I'm implementing this, this will be very useful because I'll be able to reference this. And my code, my tests should represent this behavior. If I select both value from and to, I should see a notification when the value changes from the to the to. Let's be consistent. I should be able to clear either or both fields. Okay, so we've got a much more explicit requirement there, right? Now, from a code perspective, let's get into this. What do I need? Well, I need to track the planning item subscription. So I need to track, hey, I have a field and it has a from and a to value, right? So also let's do this. Copy to clipboard, ping, paint. There we go. Crop, save that. Status changes v2. Let's go there. Go here, attachments, choose status changes v2, upload. There you go. Okay. So now I've got that attached. The ultimate goal, by the way, is to have attachments show on here as well. So it would show the attachments that are specific for there. And that would allow you to see them, right? Potentially put an image viewer in there. So if we see PNGs or JPEGs, etc., we can just show them rather than having them download. But baby steps. Okay, so we have that. And now if we go back to my idea here. So we do have subscriptions as a table, right? So right now there is the ability to subscribe to an entity, but we don't have the ability to narrow down on that subscription. So the goal, the intent would be that when I subscribe to an entity, or because there is an entity subscription there, I then go and check to see what has changed. And there is code to check what has changed in here. So changes and notifications together. So right now, if a planning item has changed, we get the notification, which is perfect. This is what we want. So this is doing what it needs to do already. This process planning item change is going to check to see if there are any subscriptions for this entity. And if there are, it'll publish a send to user inbox.target entity, right? So right now, this will just push directly to the inbox. What I want it to do is produce a communication, and that communication or that notification will then be handled by communications. So I don't want it to necessarily, this right this second is actually going to the message bus. Right, this actually publishes to RabbitMQ as send to user inbox. Right, probably still will use RabbitMQ because it's a deliberate action. Right, it's a whereas Kafka's kind of, hey, there's some information. RabbitMQ has a command messaging system in there that's intended for sending commands. So then I will send a notification rather than a send to user inbox because that's very specific. Although actually, send to user inbox is still probably right language because how they deal with it is an implementation, right? So it might still be appropriate to call it send to user inbox. Phil Schnabel, hello. How you doing? How is your day going? So yeah, I'm gonna. However we do that, basically the change will be okay. Well, here's what you need, but we're gonna need more information, right? We're gonna need to know what changed. Right now, this just says this thing changed. So there's gonna be some more granularity, but ultimately we're gonna say, okay, well now, check the parameters, right, of this notification, of the subscriptions, and yeah. And again, this is for every subscription to this thing. So this thing change, go and find everyone who's subscribes to this. Command source user identifier. Right. This will not notify you. If you change something and you have a subscription to this thing, it won't notify you that this thing changed because you obviously know. Right. That's what that's for. That's a hidden rule. That's not great. And home. Nice. Welcome back. I'm glad you call us home. Um, so, okay. I think this is the right design. I think this still works. I think we can flex this a little bit. So the intention will be here. We have subscription ID. We have field name or property name. Property. And we have how do I represent this? This is where NoSQL DB is going to be a little bit better because you can be more generic about these things. Basically, it needs to be from to, where these are nullables. Date added. Now again, the concept here is that I love that word concept. It's annoying. I overuse it. I apologize. The goal here is that I want to be able to say I want to be notified about something, and how I'm communicated that notification is not the concern of this piece, right? It's very important that I break those two things out for me. So again, notifications is its own component of the system. Changes is its own component. As changes come out, right? And yes, that is the same notifications component represented. I can probably move that because it is on the other side. No, there's a reason it's there. This is all, if there's an API exposed for it, then it lives up here. If it's internal and does something, it lives down here. On the other side of Kafka. That's what I'm trying to represent. But notifications does exist on both sides of that wall. So changes is going to publish out this object changed. Here's what changed. Notifications is going to pick that up and say, oh, did you subscribe to this notification? Yes, you did. Okay. Let's publish out. This is where I got to get into I've got to figure out how I represent service bus here because service bus is not represented. Oh, you're not grouping. Group selection. Oh. Yes, I'm getting stuck on playing with arrows, but it's fine. It's all fine. So yeah, changes publishes out that transform pipeline stuff is it takes the changes and then does more with it and then publishes it on, but they are separate components. And then notifications picks out that change and then will publish to, this is the hard one, service bus, right? So that will push to the user inbox, let's say. So essentially that is not there. That is kind of what we need here is more communications. And then these pieces live in here. Because actually, we can get rid of that at this point. We don't need that piece. So SignalR is a method of communication, right? All those lines tell me it's an over-engineered system. Define over-engineered. Because there's a lot of lines it's over-engineered. I'm interested. Not yet. I haven't seen his videos in a while. Let's move that down there just to get that out of the way. Hey Zons, how you doing? 100 lines going through 1,000 boxes. Well, it's better than one big box. I'm genuinely asking. I'm genuinely intrigued. If it was just a flat, a quick comment, that's perfectly fine. But if you do actually have opinions on it being over-engineered, I want to explore those sorts of things because I think they are very useful to me to understand how other developers see what I do and consider what I do. Again, to me, I'm getting a great deal of flexibility from the system, but that comes with cost, right? So I am genuinely interested. I'm not trying to be picky. Yeah. It's definitely over-engineered. And I realize that I said over-engineered changes system in the title. I'm not, if that's what that was, then I apologize. I am learning that the title of my stream is going to, gotcha. Okay. I'm just checking, Harish. It's fine. I get it. Yeah. Wellington. Yeah. So it's funny. The reason I put the over engineering in it again is I am experimenting with the title of my streams. I am playing with the titles on YouTube videos to see, like the videos I did on the modular monolith stuff the other week. There are more views on that set of YouTube streams than any videos I've ever made. And it was the title modular monolith that got people in the stream. It kept them there. It was okay. But yeah. So the stream titles I experiment with at this point because I think it's interesting to know what brings people into here. And I would like to represent or not represent to broaden, the group, because more experience, more ideas will always help me reflect on what I am doing and validate sometimes, right? So anyway, thank you, Harish, for the comment. I apologize. I did not take the joke side. I didn't immediately remember that I'd put the title of really. I ungroup that. Ungroup selection. Let's move that there. I'm overthinking moving my arrows at this point because I'm thinking about what I'm talking about. That's my standard way. No one got 5 for Pikachu. They just had their team quit. It should be the title. So I could go with the ultimate troll. I do not want to mention any product in my stream titles, though. That would be scary. Oh, Phil, I read them. I read them and I didn't read those ones out loud. My apologies. I have no experience. I don't know what over-engineering means, but I love complexifying. Complexifying is good. And home project is a perfect place to get crazy with tech. So actually, yeah, I was going to turn back around on that one immediately. One of the things that I'm doing here is not just building a system using every technology I can possibly find. And although there is an aspect to that, right? I can play and experiment with a lot of technologies with this. And at this point, this system is complicated enough to give me enough of a playground to experiment with ideas, with concepts. I can pull in technologies and do things with them that I couldn't possibly do. There's enough data production at this point to actually test a system. It's not testing the size of the system, but it's testing the complexity of the data. And I could, pull in other products and whatnot. That being said, nothing other than cost, nothing would prevent me from trying to make this as a production, an actual product. I think there's a lot of advantages to building the software in this way. The flexibility of the changes, the design, the code as a whole. And I'm not trying to blow my own horn here a little bit, but I am proud of this product. I think it does represent my ideas. Maybe it's not perfect, right? Maybe there's things in here that you wouldn't do as an engineer. But the alternative would be to build a monolith that I would be struggling with to, well, not necessarily struggling to maintain, but it would be a little harder to maintain. There would be some blurred lines. With this, I keep all the lines manageable, and I can extend and collapse the system as I need, right? I can merge these pieces together. There's nothing harmful about doing some of these things. But yeah. So ultimately, communications is kind of a hub unto itself. Notifications will come out here, and then SignalR will be hooked in to do the push notification piece, which is why I'm saying, like, this planning item, even though it seems very simple to the end user, because then to the product manager, this is, I want to see a screen and then I want to get an email. It's easy, right? There's a lot of engineering. We're going to see that, the breakdown as to how this is actually going to be achieved. So what do I need to do first? Well, I need to, and I'm going to start at the back end pieces. The front end can come way later. Yeah. That seems like a rational response. I have a few trigger words stored away for situations like those. Try minimally. Oh dear. Got to share those opinions on minimal APIs. You have that conversation. Just feel attacked. You use minimal APIs once, and it just causes a problem. What's the historical context for blow my own horn? Was it common to play someone else's instrument? I don't know. Let's have a look. Etymology. To blow your own horn is to be, Collins Dictionary suggests the following note. The usual expression is blow your own trumpet. In the past, the arrival of important people in a place was announced by the playing of trumpets. It refers to the practice of heraldry. It comes from the sense of a horn as a trumpet, and one who plays his own horn is someone making great fanfare about himself. There you go. I know you don't want to mention, but you have Basecamp, Jira, Linear, etc., with different philosophies. But I think the opinions need to be clearer and sharper with the Liquid Sky. So it's a PG idiom, yes. Yeah. Oh dear. You do need to I think the whole imposter syndrome stuff, right? It definitely means that we are a little bit afraid to shout out our achievements and stuff. But yeah, and I get your point on Zons, right? I need to be stronger on some of these things. Now, one of the things I'm trying not to do as well is be too I'm being opinionated about the separation. But like I said, right, the idea here is that you can make these as big or as small as you want, right? You can drill planning items down into little bits to help tasking if that's the case. If you want more granularity of your reporting to how the product is coming along, but you need achievable pieces, right? And that's the only real opinion. The separation of product and development is all I'm trying to attain here, which other products do. Linear is not a traditional style like Jira, although I've also not tried to go into those products too deep because it is also I do not want to be copying what they do, and it is very easy to copy things you've seen and do, right? So, blood each other's. Radio Patrick, hello, good morning. How are you? How was your movie night? The movie was awful. Ouch. Ouch. Radio Patrick on Thursdays does a movie night with his friend Bear, and they sit and watch a movie together on stream. So they do watch some. They do watch some good movies. I can say there are some good movies. I've watched Mighty Ducks with them and He-Man. Those were good movies. We can chat, stop, criticize the movie, share information, share facts and stuff. It's a good time. But as per as per like One Lion's Friday Community Day streams, which we'll get back to later, their opinions expressed, they may not necessarily represent the opinions of the host, because it can get into quite deep discussion at times. Be glad you missed most of it because you missed nothing. This movie was so boring that I'd rather watch an actual bad movie because it would at least have something going on. Ouch. Dear. Tremendous weight of massive talent. Sounds like an ironic, because it was a terrible movie. Maybe there wasn't enough massive talent. Okay, so let's plan this out. And I know that the idea of a coding development stream is development, but this is development, right? This is actual. Why? Oh, okay. This is actually what development is planning and preparation before jumping in. You can play with Liquid Sky right now if you want. You can go to liquid-sky.software and you can sign up. Again, the only thing I ask is if you have opinions or ideas that you are willing to share. No guarantees when the box will be up. In the hot weather, I have to turn it off because I have to save power. You're more than welcome to go and play with it. Again, if you go to, there's a Discord channel specifically for Liquid Sky, a Discord thread, not thread, yes, channel in Discord for yeah. But yeah, you can go and sign up and play with Liquid Sky. No guarantees things will work. No guarantees it will be up at this point, especially in hot weather. That little machine is doing a stunning job, but I do not want. It's 45 watts. I cannot have, or it's the amperage that I cannot draw during the day if I have a need for AC. So yeah. We were so excited for it too because it's got Nick Cage and all that, and it's just collapsed under the weight, I guess. Oof. I have an opinion. I refuse to elaborate. That's a hot take, assuming you mean unbearable instead of tremendous. Yeah, that one too. I kept forgetting the title in my effort to purge any memory of having watched the film. My opinions represent my employers, not my own. Anyways, Dr. Scott, thank you very much for coming hanging out. Hopefully you will return soon and have fun with the dog. I wish my dogs would go back to school. But anyway, okay, so let's get this task out. Let's get this done. So what I'm looking at here is, and again, I'm trying to look at what the code does, right? This is an important part, right? This is often overlooked when developers go to planning, right? The product team says, hey, we've got these stories. Let's see these stories. Developers don't go and look at these ahead of time. They wait till they're presented to them, and then they try solutionizing the problem, right? The moment, you know, I know it exists. The moment you see the requirement, you start thinking, oh, how can I do this? My eyebrows particularly fuzzy today. It's haircut season, so yeah. Yeah, my eyebrows are very bushy. I once went to a barber shop in London, or the outskirts of London, when I first moved down there, and I said, I needed a haircut. Like, my hair is kind of long right this second, and I go, haircut, and then he takes a straight razor and goes straight for my eyebrows without asking. He just says, "You look like a psychopath." So he cut my eyebrows. Didn't even ask, but took a straight razor to my face. That was not fun times. But it's a matter. It's a true Nick Cage movie with Nick Cage playing Nick Cage because he can play anybody else. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the developers go and go to the planning meeting, and the product teams show them the requirements or the story, whatever you want to call, and they immediately start solutioning. Now I'm very conscious about my fuzzy eyebrows. They immediately start solutionizing, and what they're not doing is taking time before that to go and look at what the code does. So they're doing it based upon feeling. They're doing it based upon, you know, guesswork. Right? And now in a more consistent code base, it's probably okay. You're probably going to get close to what you should do. But it's always worth looking at what you have. It's always worth going through and seeing what you currently do before that. So going and looking at stories, preparing for a planning meeting is a part of what we do now, right? It should have always been a part of what we do, but that's a different problem. So right now, in notifications, which is where I'm starting, right? I'm looking at the subscription component of notification. Like, I want to subscribe to this thing. I've got an endpoint that is for planning item, and I think this is still sufficient. I think what I need to be able to take is a list of properties that are going to be subscribed to. So this could be an empty list, or so if I just want to subscribe to anything changes about this thing, I want to know and be more granular, right? So the more specific I am. Yes. And again, we're going to focus on the one right this second. This might all change. All this code might go weird later, but we'll get there. So when we subscribe, we also want to track the parameters of the subscription, right? So subscription parameters, right? So if there are no parameters, we're subscribed to the entity. If there are parameters, we have to meet the parameters for the subscriptions. There could be, right now, there could be one or more. And do I have identifier, subscriber identifier? That's who's subscribing. So yeah, so let's just make sure that is right. Right. So who is subscribed and the parameters of that subscription. So the way I'm thinking about this is, the way this is going to work is I'm going to do actually let's go with pictures. We like pictures. So user, I forget that it's not Miro. Right, the user goes to subscribe, and when that's saved successfully to the database, right? I don't know how many times I've drawn that now at this point, but it's fine. And then that goes back to the user, right? And then that takes that subscription to communications and stores the preferences. So that for that subscription, we know what our notification preferences are. So that's what I'm thinking so far. I think that works. Yeah, so let's go plan that out a bit more. So update notifications endpoint to set parameters. Planning item. So here we're going to do add ability for add parameters objects collection to. So I know that I'm saying I'm not over engineering, I'm not overthinking this, but I'm automatically making that a collection. There's no point in making it one. I don't need to put status as a field on there specifically, because then I might actually end up with the opposite problem where I've really fine-tuned it and focused too quickly on that specific field. So I'm going to make a generic collection to request pass parameters into subscription. So there's two aspects to notifications, right? There's And again, if you have questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, please feel free. Unless you maybe, in which case, so there's the API, the entry point over here. What was that? Me. Because you're a troll. The moment I said you got thoughts, questions, opinions, it'd be, I've got opinions, I've got questions. Unfollow. That would be a sad day. That would be a sad day. I would be sad. So it's okay. Manets, good morning, good afternoon, good day. Hope you're well. Maybe, thank you. You give me the Twitch, the Bezos bucks. Yeah, subscribe. Give me my Bezos bucks back. I appreciate that, sir. So yeah, we're gonna subscribe here. Subscribe to Planning Item is a command, and here we're gonna pass in the extra parameters. That's what we're gonna do. So we need to go back to here, pass parameters to subscription, create. I'm not gonna, in this instance, what I'm not gonna do is I'm not going to create separate tasks for all these things because the structure is necessary. Now, if I had multiple people working on stuff, right? So let's go at it from that way. I gotta be careful here because I don't. Let's say that there's more than one developer working on this project. Register isn't working. Uh-oh. What would that be? Tenant management. LS, tenant management. Register user failed. Is trying to register the user and failing. Also, your register with provider. Is it? Have you registered previously? Unregister. Can you? Auth0.com. Can you? Oh, passkeys available. Sorry, I'm gonna log into Auth0. This is worth checking. So I am gonna divert. Okay, so can you PM me the email you are trying to use? See if it's. Because I think that there may be. Yeah. So it's crashing on registering with Auth0. So, but Auth0 is not showing any logs for that piece. Oh, failed. Password is too weak. At least, yeah, it's validation. You should create a bug ticket in the bug system that I don't have right this second. That's why the Discord's there, right? So the Discord channel is there so that if you find issues with that, if you want to post it in Discord, you can do. Yeah, I need password validation. Yeah, yeah. So that's the password is too weak, and I do not have good validation on that screen. So I will make a note. Melaneth had feedback similar on the sign up process. It's coming to iOS. I don't know. Maybe he's working on that component. But in a Mac desktop app before I use it. Well, there will be a Mac added to the stream soon. Although I'm gonna have to figure out things like SSH development and stuff, because the Mac will only have 16 gig of memory and that will not run Liquid Sky. Wow, this is exactly why I control things. I want to be able to prove that development in .NET at this level can be done on Mac, Linux, and Windows. So I'm going to build so this is my dev box, right? And I'm not even running Liquid Sky right this second. My client wants less features for more money. Yeah. So yeah, doing what I do with this, and yes, some of that's overkill, but I have 10 gig in Docker. Linux and Windows aim to utilize RAM as a type of cache. If you had less memory, you'd use less. Yeah. But still, the resources required. It's the way I develop as well, right? I've got instances of Rider, DataGrip, WebStorm open all the time. I've got databases running. There's a SQL Server in there. There's Mongo in there. There's Redis. There's RabbitMQ. Yeah, Liquid Sky starts up with 16 services. It's not a yeah. Microservices is just a joke. It's not a C# thing. This application is doing a lot. It's intended to do an awful lot. An entire social network, 100,000 members, thousands active daily on an 8 gig server. You make me sick. I'm glad of this fact. I go for macro monoliths, lots of go-tos and global variables. As a former basic developer, go-tos. But so that means I just need some better validation on the the registration screen. Nothing wrong with go-tos. Recruiter's giving me a guilt trip because I didn't choose his client. Trap, good morning, by the way. They interviewed me 2 weeks ago on the MSCV. I'll be working for them right now. We're clearly not helping TMedia develop any features anymore. Yeah. The one day that I've said, hey, I'm going to concentrate wholly on Liquid Sky is the most active chat I've had in weeks. You can't do anything on Twitch when it comes to community stuff without the other party getting a notification about it, huh? Hey, Plum Tardigrade, welcome in. Hope you're well today. And thank you for the follow. Okay, so it's Friday and the coffee is strong. I wish my coffee was strong today. I put cream in it. I've taken to not putting cream in the coffee, and I've decided today I was going to put a bit of cream in there, and no, it was too much. Twitch say makes it easy to raid. It was like, let's add everyone I love to raid. You disabled my raid. No, I've disabled one person raids. To raid me, you have to have at least 2 people, which means you're bringing someone with you. Michael, I've just to raid you. Anyway. One of them days. The amazing thing is here, I actually have got more clarity on the planning things. We're now going to troll me with raiding. I raid myself into your stream instead of clicking the link to a new stream. So, but yeah, I disabled one person streams. You can actually set a minimum number of raiders. Tell you what, start a stream up, raid me, and then put the stream back up in 10 minutes, and I'll raid you back. On a serious note, though, if you are a .NET streamer, or if you're a developer streamer, not a .NET streamer, no. If you're a development streamer, and you are thinking of streaming around this time, go live, let me know, and I will definitely look for your stream, and I will raid into you. I like to continue on with app development and development in general. I think it's a good way of sharing that viewership and keeping people engaged in the things they were looking for in the beginning. So I switched from cream to regular milk and coffee, and it drastically helped the intensity. Yeah. I removed, if you remove all cream from coffee, it's not got a lot in it, but I've taken to drinking black coffee more often than not. But the cream in this one is just too much today. But do people really like watching web apps be developed? Unless they like trolling more, I don't know. But I assume so. I assume people want to see application development. And sometimes it's productive just to, keep focused on the work. I like to never stop without a raid, doing my best. Yeah. I'm not a dev, but I need co-working for my brain. Yeah. So some people like the co-working aspect. Again, I don't put music on my stream. Play your own music. My dulcet tones and lack of development today, what you've got to get by on. But what I was going to say before is, in terms of planning is a necessary component. We cannot avoid this phase. Should not avoid. Well, we can avoid it. We should not avoid it, especially if I'm building something like this, right? I do not want to yeah, I know which stream you're in as well. Or I can get some classic music there. Oh, that's the point. Being that we're doing a shout, we'd shouted out Stone Eagle before. if you like co-working streams and good music, Yaron is streaming right now. I've only just really started attending his streams, but he's he hangs out, chats while he works, and attends meetings and stuff. He's also been trying to figure out his gaming setup. Nice. Yeah, most things do not avoid the planning stage. Take it from a teacher. Yeah. So oftentimes this is overlooked in development, especially when you want to get to the code, right? And what I'm trying to promote on this stream is the planning, right? I want to do some preparation. And if I don't go through at least the basics of the preparation, I'm not really living up to my own goals. Now, what I said earlier on was I'm going to go a little waterfall in that I'm going to build features, plan features out closer to when I'm doing them, which is not really a good idea. I should be thinking bigger picture, but at this point I'm not able to focus on bigger picture, but I do want to focus on the actual development. So what I was going to say before is the tasking here. If I was developing with multiple people, how I break these tasks down is going to matter. So let's say I want to work on the notification component and on the subscribe component at the same time. I can't build out the notification component unless I have the subscription piece there. So I've got a natural kind of funnel, right? If I have multiple developers though, I might want to task out the creation of the table, the data tables, so that everyone has that structure available. So that's a task. Or in this case, I'm going to make it all one because, you know, I'm working on my own. So we need to pass parameters to description, create, what do we call it? And again, if you are new to the stream, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions, please feel free. I am sharing the development of an application built for planning. So we have the parameters. We need to create a parameters table. Plumtardigray, thank you very much for the Prime sub. Appreciate that. Create, include script. Define parameters in. So we're going to go for the notifications side of things here. So this is notifications. We're going to add in our subscription parameters here. Define parameters in notifications, including context. So let's put them first. So again, these two items could be a task unto themselves, and then the others that can be taken first by someone, and then once that's done and committed, the other developers can pick up off that and run with that, right? And then the planning can start with that assumption in place. Right now, we don't have any priority or ordering to the tasks, but that is something that will be necessary later on. And it could be that gets we create a branch for, you know, the actual feature, and then branch off of that and merge that feature, those changes back in, or just create the feature branch, initial it, and then work off of that feature branch. So we're going to pass the parameters as subscription. That's essentially tackling that piece. What would that do? Validate. There's no validation required because from to can be empty. Create parameter that includes script. Define parameters, add parameters object. Field name or property name. property from 2. Again, this is your personal subscription to that thing, so that's fine. And now that gets assigned to Team Alpha. There is only Team Alpha because it's us, right? Says our task. The way I've done this planning item, actually, there's not much in terms of tasking, other than we need a UI now. So, UI for, and again, the tasks are very much done right. The tasking can be tackled in parallel. So you might have one or more developers working on this feature. It doesn't prevent you from doing separate components and then bringing them back together later. And that's one of the beauties. Ultimately, what I want to get to is, okay, well, there's consistent branch naming. Therefore, we can go and find the branches and show them as part of this. UI for subscription. So I'm going to create a new UI, add button to planning item next to edit, show dialog as per mockup. Using my fantastic art skills, right? Where are you? Where's my? Did I delete my diagram? No. Deleted my diagram. I deleted it. I did. I deleted it. I'm terrible. Oh, that's a different thing. Okay. So as per mockup, the mockup's attached to here anyway. It's fine. When saved, show dialog is basically do the work to capture parameters. So is the parameters. Again, asking and pushing back on the requirements, validating that logic in the first place means that I don't really need to explain that here. Here, I'm just kind of going through the brief steps. Okay, so we know that we need a dialogue. We know that that should pop up and allow us to do the things. When saved, should indicate that there are subscriptions. That's going to be a harder one. Team Alpha. So those two tasks essentially make up this piece. Then it gets harder. These are much more complicated, but we should aim for this first. Obviously, as well, this provides no ability to edit a subscription. That is an entirely different thing. And again, this is under the notifications initiative, right? Which I intended to start today. So I intended to start today, and this will finish in. My intention is that this component will be done by the end of August, and that might seem like a long way away. But what I want to do is deliver components of this as I go, incremental value. But the initiative will finish in August. Is the intention. So yeah, not a lot of code. I get that, but this is really necessary because I don't want to be dumping this in. So let's go and create our parameters. Subscription parameters. Not next week. I may actually start some evening streams up next week to continue on with some of this stuff. I realize that people's timelines don't often align, so I'm not going to have the same people coming into the stream. But I am going to plan to start up a few evening streams, probably on Tuesday, a couple of nights next week, I think, if I can get to it. But the following week I am off work, so well, but I will have some longer streams. So hopefully we'll get a lot more done. So subscription parameters is our table. It's going to have an ID. This one I'm going to put a begin on to begin with. Not null, identity, primary key, new column. This is going to be subscription ID, big int, not null. I do not, implicit foreign keys are fine for me. I do not like playing with foreign keys too quickly. It's Twitch. We all can pop in when our schedule allows, and there's usually someone live. Yeah. There's there's some continuity, but obviously, yeah, I do stream to YouTube as well. So if you actually are engaged with the content, the VODs are all up on YouTube. But yeah, having someone to go and hang out with and chat with, definitely good. Okay, so subscription ID. So this is the property, nvarchar 255, not null. It helps if you spell property correctly, not the property. And then the from and to. This is the piece I don't like. Is essentially I've got to say these are open-ended strings because they could be serialized. The likelihood is they're going to be GUIDs or actual strings, maybe dates. Unlikely dates, actually, thinking about the data types that we have. But these are the underlying value that we're matching on. These are not generally open strings. Maybe we want to provide some regex or something later, but I'm not going to overthink that too much. Even nvarchar max might be, just unnecessary. But both of these can be null. If you want to just subscribe to changes on the property, these are going to be nullable. I would love to attest a project, but I'm not willing to provide personal information. It is mandatory for your location. No, and the information you provide is not necessarily. It can be. I should make that clear. Right now, there is no requirement to put realistic information in there. Put realistic looking information if you would like to give it a go. But you do not have to provide. There's no requirement to provide a real name, real address, etc. I'm not taking any money. The information is not used or captured in any way, and I will make that clearer. But yeah, the only thing I ask is if you jump in Discord and provide feedback, that would be great. Yeah. I don't put realistic information in there. I put that I'm in New Jersey, but that's about it. I'm not using the data for any sort of metrics, or there's no legal requirements there. So yeah. So let's save subscription parameters. Let's at least finish up on some progress. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Moment when you get pinged from work. Oh, maybe you could just have a skip button that fills dummy data automatically. Possible. But that would be a feature I would have to remove and work on as well. What I'll probably do is just make sure that I highlight that you can fill in whatever data you want and just put parameters in there that kind of make it sane. Because you as it's been validated already, there's no validation on that. Yeah. I know that feeling. It went all the way through 1530 respond to the user issues and doc request. 2 separate requests that came in just yeah. Okay. So let's finish this up. So subscription parameters, now we script that out. Generate DDL to clipboard. One of the things I don't have right this second is the ability to kind of put numbers or tasks. And after dinner I did more work, still had hours to make up from Wednesday, so it was still all averages out, but kind of would like to use that time on art, right? Yeah, get busy with things. But yeah. Yeah, there's no tracking numbers on these right this second. That's a sequence because of the way this data is designed. It's a little hard to put together. What I'm thinking is the planning item will have an identifier, like so it'd be like, you know, you give a thing here, and then the tasks would get a sub identifier of some form, so you'd actually still be able to trace back. But I've yet to figure that out. So the way this works is we go over here and we look at our task list, and then we look at ready for development. So from here you can see, like, this is why I have it as markdown, so you can read these things, right? A bug driving me crazy. So now here I want to put an estimate on here. So I've got the script. I need to add the parameters to the collection. I need to pass into subscription, capture parameters with subscription, right? So now I'm going to put a 3 on that. I think it is big enough. And I'm going to assign that to me, right? I am Terry Admin. Ooh, that broke the markdown. That's interesting. Does that break it, or does that? Huh. Interesting. Okay. It's an interesting quirk. But you see the requirement now loads in. That wasn't loaded before because the data is not actually intact as it should be. That's something I need to address. But that requirement has been pulled from the server now, so it's there. Oh, I missed the window. Anyway. Oh no. Anyway. Now we go back to the planning. We go back to here. We expand this. We now see that there's 3 points assigned to this. So we can, as a product manager, I can see that things are changing, that things are happening. And these are the things that I'm subscribing to, right? I want to know when things change state. The piece I'm focused on right now, the planning items, realistically, this is management, other product team members that might care about whether they need to look at something or whether they are required to do something on a piece. From that perspective, as a CEO, as a VP, etc., you might be looking at, are things moving along? Where are things sitting? Why do I, daily summary? Okay, all these items have been worked on today. Okay, we're making progress. Great. I can ask specific questions that have some relevance to what has actually happened, rather than being like, where are we, and getting an update that you can't necessarily consume. And that's the goal. Once we move towards the development side, once we start looking at the task progress, then that's obviously, again, from the development team perspective, okay, things have changed. Oh, a task has been completed. I cared about that task because it was a DevOps task that I needed. It's done. Okay, let's go. So you can kind of put those chains together. That is the goal. However, unfortunately, I do have a full-time job that I do need to get to, and I have a meeting in 20 minutes, so that needs to be done. So I will be back on Monday. Regular time, regular stream, Liquid Sky though. All Liquid Sky for now. I apologize if that is disappointing. It is not something that I am taking lightly, and I will continue to do my best to make forward progress on developers.stream where I can. It is still a passion project that I want to do, but this is a bigger passion, and I need to get some focus done on this right this second. So thank you for joining me. If you are not aware, on a Friday, well, if you're not aware of this great streamer, One Lion streams Wednesdays through Fridays. He streams his work stuff normally, but on Fridays hosts a community day, which is a great place to go and hang out if you like the discussion, if you like talking about GPG, technical topics. AI often is popping up there right now. It is something that has created a lot of discussion points, right? But yeah, One Lion Stream is a great place to go and hang out, and I highly recommend checking him out. But we are going to go and raid over to Zerg today because I like to try and raid different people. And as I said earlier on, if you are developing and you are streaming around this time, I will try and mix it up. But yeah, so thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I appreciate it. And I will catch you again next week, hopefully. So take care all. Thank you. Bye.